We will now continue to live record the public comment session. As a reminder, your recorded comments will be distributed to the board and will be posted on our board meeting webpage and YouTube channel. The next speaker is Nikki Letter. Okay, you guys have a seat here.
I want to make sure they're shirts up. Okay.
Hold on. Yeah, you can start.
Good morning. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I'm here as a resident of Newburgh. I want to recount the story of being left at the station because the ferry didn't come and there was no notification. So on Friday, March 14th, I was allowed to purchase the ferry ticket, but the ferry did not come. Myself and another person standing in the dark waiting. You can appreciate this might be a scary situation for someone like me. I'm carless by choice, low carbon footprint, and I had no way of getting there. Of course, you can call Uber. You're not sure who's going to come at the last minute. There's been some tough situations there. Zipcar removed their service from the Beacon ferry. When you look to get the transit schedule for the bus that takes you from Beacon to Newburgh, it's at a 6-point PDF font size on the phone, impossible, so stranded. I'll go more official now. So I'm here as a resident and supporter of public transportation in the Mid-Hudson Valley to urge you to take immediate action to restore and permanently preserve the Newburgh-Beacon ferry. The ferry has long served as a critical transportation link for commuters, students, workers, visitors, and residents traveling between Newburgh and Beacon, and by extension to Metro North and New York City. In recent suspension due to dock damage in Beacon, they announced the temporary bus service will end in 2025. This threatens to leave a growing and hardworking community, many of who cannot be here today because they are working and not able to come to the city to speak. And it threatens to leave us completely disconnected and alienated from essential public transit access. It's not just a transportation issue, it's a matter of equity, environmental justice. Communities like Newburgh already face disproportionate challenges. Cutting transit only deepens the divide. Accessibility. Many riders depend on the ferry for affordable, reliable, and ADA compliant travel. Shout out to ADA celebration this month. Environmental responsibility. The ferry reduces car traffic, emissions, road salt runoff into the Hudson River. It now takes, it takes 40 minutes to get from the Beacon train station by car to Newburgh now. Thank you.
The next speaker is Eric Roman, sorry. Yep, you right here. Just give me a sec. No problem. Your timer's right here. Great.
Good morning, board members. I'm Eric Roman, Northeast Director with Jobs to Move America. We're here today to deliver a letter with a straightforward request. When you move forward to invest close to $11 billion to upgrade MTA's railcar fleet, use the U.S. employment plan in the RFP process to ensure good jobs come out of this enormous public investment. This tool has been used around the country and is no threat to the MTA. It's common sense. That's why leaders in our state legislature urged you to use this tool in letters sent to you back in March, and a request today is supported by top labor leaders across the region and state, including the heads of the State Federation of Labor, the New York City Labor Council, the Westchester Putnam Central Labor Council, President John Chiarella from TWU Local 100, union presidents from SMART and Machinists. We've asked your staff to sit down and talk about this with us as you develop the RFP. We look forward to meeting you. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Chris Drummond. Kim Kessler. Okay. Daylight Power. Jeffrey Mao. You're gonna sit here. The timer's gonna be here. You have 2 minutes.
Good morning. I'm here on. I'm a student from the New York area representing the Joint Transit Association. We are an organization of students who aims to advocate for better transit solutions from the MTA and across the wider tri-state area. And so today I'm here specifically to comment on recent changes the MTA has been planning. For example, the FM swap, which many of our members have advocated for and approved. And we urge the MTA to make further improvements such as increasing the amount of service on the FC and R trains. However, we also have one specific request, which is that the MTA make their kind of plans for the fall a bit more well-known. There are recent articles stating that at least from the specific MTA kind of like metrics that they planned on changing service on the AC, like I think it was the A, B, E, and D lines, and we want to know more about what exactly they are planning this fall. I believe it is crucial that the MTA provides more transparency in this area, and we very much hope that they can further clarify their kind of statements on what's going to happen with potentially increased train service, also with how much exactly they are planning on increasing. A lot of times the MTA talks about how they are increasing service and they add more five more trains per day. We want to hear more kind of straightforward numbers. We want to hear more concrete plans on how the MTA plans on to change or improve service. And we hope that the MTA can further communicate these things to riders, because one of the main things that riders care about, including students, is, and a kind of commitment from the MTA that they're actually improving services in ways that are tangible to riders. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Edward Zing. The timer's gonna be right here, right?
Okay.
Hold on, wait till it starts.
Good morning. My name is Edward Zhang. I am a representative for Joint Transit Association, and I'm also a Queens resident, and I take the E and F trains regularly. So when I heard that the F and M trains were swapping, that brought me a lot of joy, and I am just here to be in fully of support of the F and M swap, because it removes a key merge at around 36th Street, where it can feel forever whenever an E and F train shows up, and there's always like some, roulette playing, where in a sense that you could be there for like minutes just for the train to move. So there's that one benefit. It also creates more connections, especially for F train riders like myself, who's and other people who live like further out, who don't have access to 53rd Street Tunnel and the Lexington Avenue line. Instead, they have to do an out-of-system transfer, which is very, very inconvenient. And with the F train being back on the 53rd Street Tunnel, that will eliminate that completely, which I like. It also helps decrease crowding on the 63rd Street Tunnel, because instead of sending an F train through the 63rd Street Tunnel, it sends the less crowded M train through it. And according to some statistics, the M train has to be around 85% full, which it never is past 36th Street. So that is why I support the F and M swap, though there is other things that the MTA could do to make the F and M swap even better. For example, make the M train run on the weekends, because it's just because 6th Avenue's service is woefully inadequate, and having a third service on 6th Avenue would help F trains even more. Also, just run more M trains in general, especially during rush hours where it could be pretty inconsistent. And finally, just also run more F trains in general. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to the F and M swap.
Thank you. The next speaker is Keenan Ture. Keenan. The next speaker is Dominic X. The next speaker is Freeman X. Scott Q.
Hi, I'm here to support the F and M swap. The F and M swap will eliminate the merging conflicts near Queens Plaza that ease into capacity and cause delays while preserving an 1C ride for the majority of QBL riders, saving them precious time on their daily commute. The only comment I want to add is for the MTA to shorten M trains at 2nd Avenue to add capacity on M train, and to fully utilize this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Adrian Abate. Oh, sorry. You're gonna sit here and the timer's gonna be here. As soon as you're ready, you can start.
Okay, good morning. My name is Adrian Abadi, and I'm the Executive Director of Partnerships for Community Wellness, a public health nonprofit working to reduce health disparities on Staten Island. I want to thank the directors for the opportunity to submit comment this morning. I'm here today to express deep concern about the MTA's recent decision to lift the ban on alcohol advertising on public transit. This is a significant setback for public health in New York City and directly undermines years of progress in protecting our young people from the harms of alcohol. Studies consistently show that the more young people are exposed to alcohol ads, the more likely they are to start drinking, to drink more frequently, and even to prefer specific alcohol brands. These ads normalize alcohol consumption, making it seem a necessary part of social life rather than a substance with serious health risks. We know the devastating impact of alcohol. It's a leading cause of preventable deaths, it contributes to chronic diseases like cancer, liver disease, and it drives countless emergency department visits. For young people, it disrupts brain development, increases the risk of injuries, violence, and academic problems. Youth alcohol rates in New York City have been declining, in part because of strategic public health interventions like these advertising bans. National data, which mirrors New York City's experience, shows significant declines in youth alcohol consumption over the past years, including current use and binge drinking. These declines are attributed to many factors, including the concerted efforts from public health advocates, community leaders, and policies like the MTA's former ban. We've been chipping away at this problem, and this ban was a critical piece of that success. In a time when public health programming is being dismantled, we cannot afford to lose the progress we've made. We call on the MTA board to reverse this reckless decision. We must not allow profits to overshadow public health. We need to reinstate the advertising ban on public transit, and we need to strengthen comprehensive policies that protect the health of New York City's youngest residents. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Shane Kennedy. Shane Kennedy. Matthew McMillan. You're gonna sit here and the timer's gonna pop up as soon as you start talking.
My name is Matthew McMillan. I'm with TW Local 100, representing thousands of workers operating, maintaining, and repairing New York City Transit rail cars. I'm here today with members from SMART, the Machinists Unions, and Jobs to Move America to ask the MTA Chair and Board to include the U.S. Employment Plan, or USEP, in the upcoming 2,000 rail car purchases in the 2025 to 29 capital plan. I've done maintenance work on subway cars all around the system. My brothers and sisters from TW Local 100 often work right alongside Kawasaki workers doing what they call warranty work on newer subway cars. Two sets of workers under two sets of rules, all working at one transit location. Right now it's Kawasaki. A couple of years from now it might be Siemens or Bombardier, but whatever company they work for, if the MTA adopts the U.S. Employment Plan, will have real commitments from the company on wages and hiring for all work in full transparency. It's the very least we can ask from companies that will get contracts valued at close to $11 billion in public funding. Our TW Local 100 President John Chiarello has signed a letter asking the MTA to use the U.S. employment in its rail car RFPs, a letter also signed by Mario Salento from the New York State Federation of Labor, Brandon Griffin from the New York City Central Labor Council, as well as leaders from SMART, the Machinists Unions, and the Westchester Putnam Labor Council and Jobs to Move America. We encourage the MTA to sit down with Jobs to Move America and our unions to talk about using the USEP to ensure that the MTA spending contributes to these quality family-sustaining jobs. Also, incentivizing contractors to maintain a stable, high-skilled workforce that can translate into fewer delays in service, in production, and fewer costly performance problems down the line. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Kem. Sasha Blair Goldensum. Tramel Thompson. Chris Drummond. Robert Pezowski. Anthony, come on over. Sorry.
I was like, man, I thought I registered early. All right. Let me know when we're good.
As soon as you start talking, we'll start the timer.
All right. Good morning, board members. My name is Anthony Fodiatis. I'm the president business manager for Smart Local 137. We represent sheet metal workers across the 5 boroughs, Long Island, Rockland, Westchester County, and 13 counties in New Jersey. Our sister union, Smart Local 645B, represents thousands of workers operating and maintaining Long Island Railroad commuter rail cars. I'm here with Jobs to Move America and other union partners to request MTA chair and board about the inclusion of the U.S. Employment Plan, or USEP, and the upcoming 2,000 rail car purchases in the 2025 through 2029 capital plan. Along with my colleague Eric Meslin from Smart Local 28, I've signed on to the letter we're presenting to Chairman Lieber and the board today. The U.S. Employment Plan, a U.S. DOT approved procurement tool, has been implemented by transit agencies across the country, which can lead to good jobs and apprenticeship programs in manufacturing, transit buses, and public transit rail cars. When Los Angeles Metro utilized USEP, it led to Smart Local 105 and BYD Ride launching the country's first electric bus manufacturing apprenticeship program using the nationally recognized Industrial Manufacturing Technician IMT credential. This was made possible through USEP's policy that unions in the letter are representing the MTA adopt in its upcoming rail car purchases. Manufacturers are able to score higher points in the bidding process by making commitments to the pre-apprenticeship or apprenticeship program in its U.S. Employment Plan worksheet. As unions representing thousands of workers in New York City, we encourage the MTA to meet with labor advocates and unions to discuss the inclusion of the U.S. Employment Plan in order to encourage manufacturers to create quality, community sustaining jobs. I yield my time, Chair.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. All right. Finally got the.
Is there anyone in the room that has been registered and did not speak? We will now go through the remote speakers. And the first speaker is Sean O'Connor.
There we go. Thank you. Good morning, board members. My name is Sean O'Connor. I'm a general chairman with the International Association of Machinists District 19, which represents maintenance and repair workers throughout the MTA's commuter rail system, as well as workers in the manufacturing sector. I'm here today with the Transport Workers Union, SMART, and Jobs to Move America to share the letter signed by labor leaders about the inclusion of the U.S. Employment Plan, or USEP, in the upcoming 2,000 unit rail car procurement provided for by the 2025 through 29 MTA capital plan. We are proud to be joined on this letter by Mario Salento from the New York State AFL-CIO, Brendan Griffin from the New York City Labor Council, as well as the Westchester Putnam Labor Council. USEP, a US DOT approved procurement tool, has been implemented by transit agencies around the country and leads to good jobs and apprenticeship programs in the manufacturing of rolling stock. USEP ensures public transparency in contracts and is a way for the public to hold manufacturers accountable for high road job creation. We love to see this agency purchase union-made rail cars, but regardless of which company ultimately wins the bid, these huge contracts should not create a race to the bottom that could hurt workers in the long run. I urge the board to respond to the labor advocate and unions' request to meet with the MTA about the inclusion of the U.S. Employment Plan in the new rail car purchase. New York can use its market-shaping purchasing power to support high road manufacturers and incentivize in-state facility commitments in order to maintain good jobs for communities in New York. Thank you.
The next speaker is Kim Kessler.
Good morning. I am Kim Kessler, Assistant Commissioner for the Bureau of Chronic Disease Prevention at the New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today about the importance of reducing exposure to unhealthy advertisements in our public transit system. One challenge to the health of New Yorkers is that many neighborhoods are saturated with products that contribute significantly to morbidity and mortality, such as tobacco, e-cigarettes, alcohol, and foods that contain high amounts of added sugars, as well as advertising for these products. Advertising is pervasive and also works as intended, with ample research demonstrating that marketing of unhealthy products increases their use. Today, I join other advocates to express concern about alcohol advertising on public transportation here in New York City. Each year, excessive alcohol consumption leads to the death of thousands of New Yorkers, and alcohol-related injuries lead to tens of thousands of hospital visits in the city. Increased exposure to alcohol advertisements may lead to higher levels of alcohol consumption and may increase the likelihood of underage alcohol consumption. Viewing alcohol ads can change how teens perceive drinking, making it seem more positive and normalizing it. The potential impacts of ads on youth cannot be overstated, as in 1 month alone, New York City students took 2.5 million public transit trips. Across the United States, cities have taken steps to address this issue of unhealthy product advertising. In fact, several cities, including Los Angeles, San Francisco, Oakland, and Seattle, prohibit alcohol advertising on their buses or in their transit systems. The New York City Health Department urges the board to reconsider its recent decision rolling back its prior restriction on advertising for alcohol in the transit system. We thank you for your consideration and for the opportunity to testify today.
The next speaker is Jessica Murray. You can unmute yourself now.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. Thank you. Is there a clock somewhere? Yeah, thank you. Good morning to the board. I really hope you see these comments. I'm a little bit skeptical that anyone will watch this. In addition to the Zoom bombing, I really hope that the moderators will figure out a good process for online speakers because it seems really inconsistent from month to month. But beyond that, the reason I'm here today is to talk about July being Disability Pride Month. And I just want to remind the board that just 5 years ago, the MTA was struggling to meet a 2020 deadline to make 100 key stations accessible. That was agreed on 30 years prior. So there seems to be a little bit of revisionist history going on. There's a lot of spin when it comes to accessibility. Supposedly there's 151 stations that are wheelchair accessible now. But a good 10% of those, 15 are out right now for capital replacement. So are they really accessible? When they're out for 8 months or a year sometimes, these replacements, the timelines go over schedule. And that's not really, you can't really count those as accessible stations. You also can't count the 8 stations that are only accessible in one direction. So the community, the disability community doesn't need spin, we just need action. And we need you to listen to us about the maintenance issues because they're real. What you put on your website, we know doesn't really reflect what's happening in the real world because people report outages when they show up to stations and the elevators are out of service, they're not on the page. So if you're looking at the skewed statistics that you're acknowledging that are actually real before publicizing them, that's not, we can't believe that. We don't trust it. I really want you to come to the table and settle the lawsuit that's been going on for 8 years. That's ridiculous. Just talk to people, get it done. Thank you.
The next speaker is Norbert Jalise.
Yes, good morning. My name is Norbert Giese, and I am a board member of Civics United for Railroad Environmental Solutions. I'm here today to let you know that there is an ongoing situation of toxic locomotives polluting Queens and Brooklyn and Long Island. The Long Island Railroad and the New York Atlantic Railway are operating Tier 0 locomotives. Those are diesel engines that were manufactured in the late 60s and early 70s. These locomotives emit thousands of times more pollution than today's modern locomotives. The New York State Legislature gave the board $10 tens of millions of dollars to buy Tier 4 low polluting, cleaner locomotives. So far, not one has been purchased by the MTA. The only Tier 4 locomotive working right now is in the right of way, and it was one that Waste Management purchased 7 years ago. The Port Authority and New York and New Jersey has used Tier 4 locomotives in Greenville Yard since 2015. The board needs to act and clean up the air in Queens, in Brooklyn, and Long Island. Thank you for your time.
The next speaker is Charlton D'Souza, followed by Marianne Fisher. Charlton.
All right. So good morning, everyone. My name is Charlton D'Souza. I'm the president of Passengers United. I'm disgusted with what happened today. The fact that we all registered at 8:25 and people who spoke in person came in later, registered later, and they were all called. This is not fair. And don't even get me started on what happened with the Zoom incident. That was really disgusting and really racist and insensitive, and that needs to be investigated. As far as the fare increase that is being planned for January, there has to be a LIRR city ticket weekly, and it has to be $40 for all Queens, Bronx residents who take LIRR at Metro North. And today, a man was killed in the subway system at the Prospect Park subway station earlier this morning. We don't know all the details, but he was found dead. That is deeply disturbing. And what I want to know, have the police patrols that were promised on every train car, have they been pulled back? Because we don't see the police in the system overnight. It's been out of control the last few days. There's been robberies, there's been muggings, there's even been, there was a stabbing in another station. Again, no accountability. And I want to know one thing. Why is it that all the advocates who have something negative to say about the MTA and who are exposing the truth are all being bumped in the last? We are going to sue this agency, and I warned the board members and I warned the chairman that we would start protesting, and we are going to start now. We're going to start filing complaints, and we are going to sue this agency. The level of discrimination that we've had to face is disgusting. It is disgusting. And we are calling for a new set of changes for these meetings. Everyone should be heard in front of the board. This is ridiculous. And I'm going to expose. And we were also blocked on Twitter. We're coming after you guys.
The next speaker is Marianne Fisher, followed by Naomi Herson Ringskog. Miriam, you can unmute yourself. Marianne, you can speak now.
I'm here. Okay, my video is off, but you can hear me, right?
Yes, we can hear you.
You can hear me? Okay. I'm here partly to support my colleagues, which is Jessica Murray, the disability advocates, who testified to ask the MTA to resolve the elevator maintenance case, which is 8 years long and leaves uncounted number of people stranded, people with disabilities that don't have other options. I'm also here today to give more attention to bus stops, which are not on the radar. There are 1,500 bus stops in New York City. Only 20% have shelter from bad weather, like today, 97 degrees or 1,000,000 degrees, much higher. Only 17% of bus stops have benches for seniors, persons with disabilities, pregnant women, kids. Only a lonely pole with the sign bus stop. CB4 Manhattan Transportation Committee sent a letter to both the DOT and to the MTA President Critchlow, January 13th, 2025, requesting 6 better bus stops along 23rd Street, including Sellis Manor, a residence for hundreds of people, hundreds of tenants who are blind. There has been no reply, and I was hoping to have the board listening in real time to give us a date when they will begin to look at the request for the bus stops on 23rd Street. CB4 is actually working on the other avenues with bus stops and is going to submit something in September. We've heard that they're short staffed, but there is staff, and the request started was sent January
comment.
2025. Thank you for listening.
The next speaker is Naomi Hurston Ringskog, followed by Wendy Smith. Naomi, you can unmute
Yes.
yourself.
Excellent. Hi, my name is Naomi. I live and work in and raise my family in Newburgh. Newburgh is a walkable city of 30,000, just 60 miles north of New York City, just 10 minutes across the river from Beacon. We're a majority Black and Latino community where 1 in 5 residents do not own a car. Earlier this week, I listened to the MTA Finance Committee meeting. As an urban planner, I'm excited by the Beacon TOD plans. But while Beacon gains investment and density, Newburgh, twice the size, risks being further alienated from the regional economy and erased from the regional transit map. The abrupt termination of the Newburgh-Beacon ferry without public notice, warning, or input cuts off critical connection, not just for commuters, but also our economy. The ferry was a $2 million service with limited hours, no weekend schedule, outdated technology, zero marketing or promotion. Riders didn't fail the ferry. The ferry system failed the riders. Without reliable access across the river, Newburgh's economic development and tourism potential are stunted and segregated. This hurts small businesses like the restaurant scene on our waterfront, but also downtown and beyond. This hurts development interests needing to put up parking instead of housing. And it hurts our cultural destinations. Like Dia Beacon, we have Storm King that draws hundreds of thousands of visitors annually, and there's no seamless transit option from our local train system. Meanwhile, Newburgh is preparing for growth as a pro-housing community and climate-smart city. We have 4 projects that have been awarded $12 million through Governor Hochul's Momentum Fund. Over 500 units will be in development. Our new Orange County bus lines will stop at the ferry landing in 2026, creating a multimodal system, and we're unlocking 144 acres of downtown redevelopment through the brownfield. Restore our ferry, rename the station to reflect both cities, and establish a working group to create a modern integrated system. I invite Justin and Jano for a tour of Newburgh. Thank you.
The next speaker is Carlos Navarro Alvarez, followed by Gary Smith. Carlos, you can unmute yourself. Yeah. Carson Carter, you're up next. You can unmute yourself.
Hi, thanks so much. Good morning, MTA board members, or whenever you end up hearing this. I'm a City of Newburgh resident here in the Mid-Hudson Valley. I'm a part of a broad community coalition in our region that has spent 2 years organizing to expand the ferry service between the cities of Newburgh and Beacon. The weekday service schedule that existed before our service was quietly canceled this spring without community comment was itself inadequate and has discouraged widespread use in running only weekday mornings and evenings when all metrics across road, rail, and population influx to this part of the Hudson Valley are at record levels. Crossing the Newburgh-Beacon bridges via Interstate 84 is increasingly choked and takes nearly double the time as crossing by river, a connection which has linked our cities and this region since ferry service began in 1743. This service is an essential connector and a bipartisan issue across Orange, Dutchess, and Putnam counties. Our ask is not to reinvent the wheel. Our sister cities of Ossining and Haverstraw down the river are prime model of 7-day-a-week hourly service from the same budget line and operator, which is setting ridership records and serving their part of the region well. The demand is here and it's growing. The West Shore counties pay into the MTA payroll tax, and we are glad to see TOD development announced in Beacon. But all this development and growth must be met by adequate service for commuters, for visitors, and for service equity by all served by the MTA. Last night, on one of the hottest days of the summer, we hosted over 150 community members at our empty ferry slip on the MTA Metro North Station in the Beacon waterfront. We had 250 at a rally at our empty ferry dock in Newburgh 3 weeks ago. Our communities and your riders demand your action and urge the governor and the MTA to expand our ferry service. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Carlos Navarro Alvarez. You can unmute yourself, Carlos.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, how are you? Just seeing about the ferry Newburgh Beacon. I understand that it's a lot of people from Newburgh that some of them are in person in the meeting. I think that we need this, and I'm just like stretching on the fact that you cannot leave a full town with no access to the train. There's always a balance between profitability and access to public service, and we pay our taxes for that. Thank you so much.
The next speaker is Mark Sanchez Potter. You can unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone. Mark Sanchez Potter here. I'm a lifelong City of Newburgh resident. I teach in the Bronx, so I take the train every day during the school year, and I take the ferry. I teach in Morris Heights. I wanted to state my opposition to the ferry closing. This is a real travesty, and it needs to be corrected. Newburgh received millions of dollars in federal funds to redo our pier, and the thinking, right, was that the ferry would go to the new pier. And I know that Beacon, their pier had some issues, but New York State is giving money to fix that pier. So there's really no reason, because the ferry was almost completely subsidized. So I implore this board and Governor Hochul to reconsider the ferry. The ferry cuts down on emissions, and New York State passed the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. And in our scoping plan, right, it says that we have to cut down drastically on emissions, right? So you have to cut down on emissions, and the ferry was one way of cutting down on those emissions. That's a legally binding document, though. This board has to put in place a plan to cut down on emissions. New York State has that in writing. It's a law. Newburgh is a working class community. If this ferry is discontinued, this is just another example of New York State ignoring communities of color. 100%, right? This is a clear example of environmental racism. If the ferry is not put back into place. And I ask this board to do the right thing to save the ferry and to ensure equitability for the residents of Beacon and Newburgh. Thank you so much.
The next and final speaker is Joe Johnson. You could unmute yourself.
Good morning. My name is Gigi Johnson, and I'm a veteran Navy spouse. And I am advocating for the saving of our ferry here in Newburgh, and going from Newburgh to Beacon. I am so grateful to all of my other colleagues that have spoken before me, and I really do hope that the MTA board does listen. In dealing with the commuting for commuters, I've heard from various different members of our community how the struggle is real in trying to get over to Beacon and to make their way down to New York without the ferry being in place. It has been such a struggle just overall in dealing with being able to have that transit available for us. And it's disheartening that this is happening, and it was done without anyone's being notified or being aware. I'm so grateful to everyone that has been trying to work together to save our ferry. And again, I love hearing about the emissions that it would cut down upon, the money that is going to sit down and help to generate it. And I really hope that we are able to save our ferry, and that the MTA board would reconsider the decision, and also with Governor Hochul. Greatly appreciate being able to speak today, and I look forward to hopefully the board being able to change their mind about our ferry. Thank you.
Thank you for your participation and comments. This concludes the public comment session.